Welcome to our Mr. Jack channel. Get ready to feel the thrill with scary stories and mysteries that will get your heart racing. Don't forget to subscribe for more horror stories. Widener Library at Harvard is known as one of the largest and most magnificent libraries in the world, but there are dark stories circulating among students. Many believe that this place holds something unexplainable, a bad energy that sometimes feels so real. That night, Sarah, a graduate student, decided to finish her assignment late into the night in this quiet library. She was comfortable with the silence that enveloped the spacious room, but soon the tranquility was disturbed by something unnatural. As the clock struck 2 a.m., Sarah heard footsteps upstairs. There was no one else in the library at that hour, and Sarah knew she was alone. At first, she tried to ignore the sound, thinking it might just be her shadow. However, the footsteps were getting closer, with more and more distinct tapping. Fear began to creep into her heart, but curiosity overcame everything. With a pounding heart, she decided to look upstairs. There, among the tall, dark bookshelves, he saw a black shadow. A man wearing a black robe stood still, facing the wall. When Sarah called out to him, the man turned his head, but his face was blank. No eyes, no mouth, just a dark hole staring at her. Fear hit Sarah hard as the shadow began to move, speeding towards her, making her fall and faint on the spot. When Sarah finally woke up, she felt like she was in a different world. All the lights in the library were brightly lit, creating an almost daytime-like atmosphere. The security guards found her lying on the floor unconscious, and when they looked around, there was no one around. However, in Sarah's notebook, there was a mysterious inscription in touching red ink. "I'm still here." It sent a chill down her spine, and Sarah knew the experience wasn't over yet. Memorial Hall at Harvard is known as a magnificent building filled with history. However, behind its splendor, there are dark rumors circulating. Some people believe that this place was once used for dark rituals by students in the 19th century. Jake, an art student who likes to spend time there, never gave the stories much thought. But one night, his curiosity about the building's history led him to an experience that changed his life forever. On a quiet night, when few people were inside Memorial Hall, Jake noticed something strange. A small door that was normally locked opened by itself. Curious, Jake decided to step inside the darkened room. Upon stepping inside, he was surprised to see a circle of strange symbols drawn on the floor, as if the room had once been the site of a ritual. However, as Jake tried to examine more closely, whispering voices began to be heard from all directions. Dark shadows began to appear on the walls, moving as if they had a life of their own. The atmosphere grew tense, and Jake felt like he was surrounded by something invisible yet very real. Fear seeped through his body as he tried to get out, only to realize that the door to the room was locked tightly. One of the shadows approached him and whispered in a sinister voice in his ear, "Don't ever come back." Eventually, Jake managed to escape, with his breathing ragged and his chest tight. However, the experience didn't end there. From that night on, Jake began to be haunted by nightmares that never stopped. Faceless figures were always present in his dreams, constantly calling his name, as if they wanted something from him. The courage he once had has now turned into a deep fear, and Memorial Hall remains a terrifying place in his memory. Kirkland House, one of Harvard's old dormitories, holds a lot of history, but there is a dark story hidden within its walls. In the 1950s, a female student named Emily reportedly ended her life in her room after experiencing severe stress in her studies. Since then, students living in the same room have often reported strange and frightening events, which seem to connect them to a tragedy that happened years ago. One night, Lily, a former resident of Emily's room, woke up to the sound of crying coming from the darkness of the night. Curious and frightened, she turned on the room light and was surprised to see a young woman in a white dress sitting on the edge of her bed, looking down and crying. When Lily attempted to speak to her, the woman slowly lifted her pale face, revealing eyes filled with terrible wounds, as if she had gone through deep suffering. The woman then whispered in a weak voice, "I just want to sleep," before her body simply disappeared, leaving Lily with an indescribable feeling of terror. Since that night, Lily felt watched all the time, with the sound of footsteps often heard in the middle of the night and crying always disturbing her sleep. Her fears grew until she decided to ask for a room change, hoping to be free from the terror that haunted her. However, even though Lily had moved rooms, Emily's shadow never really left her. Every night, the woman with the scared eyes appeared in her dreams, calling her name in a voice full of sadness and pain. The horror continues to haunt her life, and Lily knows that the rooms in Kirkland House hold more than just historical memories. They are silent witnesses to a tragedy that will never be forgotten.